Okay, so once our signatures have been removed and the staples have been removed, it's now time to strengthen this spine. Show you what I use. So I have some of these. So these are like, you know, watercolor pads or mixed media pads or sketch pads, whatever. And there's always like this really thin, flimsy cover at the front, and there's always a lovely big chipboard cover. So I always keep my backs and my fronts, you know, to tell you the truth. So this is what you need to reinforce this. So I have one that is has already, you know, that I've already started chipping into, so I'm going to use that. Now, if you don't have those kind of paper pads, I'm sure you have some of these pretties. I find that the back of that is sometimes not as strong, but it sure will do. I also use the front when I use the glue to glue method, where I don't want the sewing to be seen on the outside. I use this as well, but we'll get to that later. So if you can, go ahead and grab some of this chipboard that you've got. Now you'll find that this chipboard is not the same thickness as your cereal box type. Do you think double? If we put double. Okay, so I think that double is about half. So I think if you put 3 layers of this stuff, or maybe 4, if you want to, on top of each other, they'll make the equivalent of the thickness of this chipboard, okay? So yeah, so that's what I'm going to use. Now, to estimate how much of this you need to go from, so can you see? So we've got one thin piece here, one thin piece of the equivalent of this type of chipboard. Then you've got the golden foiling piece of paper there. Then you've got another thin piece of chipboard there. Then you've got gold foiling here. Then you've got this covered chipboard. So you need to go from this thin chipboard to this thin chipboard. And if we measure it, it measures approximately, I always do it at 3. So to me it comes up at 3, which is approximately 1 1/4 inches. All right. So what I do, I come along here, I mark 1 1/4 inches there. I put a tiny little mark. I do it at the bottom too. And I put a little mark, and then I join this mark to this mark, so that's one long strip. Then what I do to get the height of the book, I just put it here and I make sure that it's flush against the start there of the chipboard, and then I kind of just do that. Make it a little bit straighter. Alright, and then so those are my dimensions. Now when I cut, this is me being really pedantic, when I cut, I don't cut on the outside of this line, I cut on the inside of this line. And sometimes all it needs is that 1/16 of an inch hair to make the difference. So I have a guillotine on my left here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut it with my guillotine. Otherwise, you know, you could always use that, but it is a heavy chipboard, and so I'm always doing this. I'm trying to, you know, save my my wrist, you know, ergonomically correct and everything. So I'm just going to pause that and do that. Also, I hear the rubbish truck coming, so I'll just save you that as well. So I'm back with my little strip, and you always just want to double check to make sure that it sits well. Now sometimes when you cut, it feels like it's pushing against the two covers, like I feel like it's pushing a bit here. You do want to give it a little bit of room to bend somewhat. So at that stage, I feel like perhaps I should have cut a little bit, 1/8 of an inch in. And if you have a look, actually, you can kind of see that I didn't really go in a straight line. So I'm gonna shave a little bit off that. Okay, so I took this twirly little bit off. I hope that was it, because maybe it wasn't so straight. Okay, so there, and I feel like just that little bit made all the difference. Okay. So now that looks really good, and you want to also check here as well, and if you have a look, you'll see that just ever so slightly it comes off. Okay, so I might do the same thing here. So I feel like that now is perfect. Flush here, and quite good on the inside as well. So that's all good. Now I want to show you how I actually put this in. Okay. I actually use gel medium. I actually use my spatula, and I make sure that I come in here and get that gel medium all the way, so I cake it into this little groove. See that groove, and see how you've got that slight thickness, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more. So I make sure that the gel medium goes in there so that it sticks, you know, it wedges its way all the way through that groove. And coming in just a bit more, I think. Okay, a bit better. Okay. And then I apply the gel medium here as well, and I make sure that that fits well. So just getting myself organized now, I'm going to go ahead. So what I'm going to do is just start adding a little bit of this. Yep, so just a little bit of this here. This is where I feel like a little bit of a a tiler working in someone's bathroom doing their grout. Haha. Okay, and I feel like this really helps to hold that little bit of golden foil. Okay, so that's looking good on that side. What I'm going to do, switch it this way. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to add a little bit here. So remember, I'm going between this spine bit and this spine bit. What I should do actually is bring in just a little bit of something underneath, and we'll come in just a little bit closer. You can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'll try not to move the book. Usually, you know, like I have it up by my face. Alright, so here we go. And what I do also is I sort of try to get some of the gel medium into the holes. Okay, and then I put a whole lot on here. So not like a whole lot, obviously, to just like cover it, but you know, because it's a porous material, it will suck some into the cardboard. So you want a little bit of a coating. Okay, that looks good. Just the bit that I'm holding next. Try to not get too many on the side there. A little bit like ice cream. Oh, sometimes I pretend I'm a Tyler, sometimes I pretend like I'm scooping ice cream, spreading butter, making sandwiches, whatever. Okie dokes. So, let's put that there for a moment. Then, actually, just don't leave too many, you know, you want it to be pretty even so that, you know, the whole spine dries at the same time, not like the thin parts are dry early and then the thick parts are still wet and you're ready to work and it's just frustrating. So you kind of want to, and yeah, don't leave any globules like this. Take that off. Just kind of try to be neat, you know, like I'm so excited and I want to do this and I want to move on to the next step, but yes, you got to be neat and you know your old win, right? So there we go. Try to get it center. You pretty much have to be pretty accurate here because once it's on, it's on. Once it's on, it's on. Okay, that looks good. Just make sure you check your sides. Don't worry too much here because we will cover it. So it'll kind of, as you push it, it goes this way, and as you push it, it goes this way. So just kind of, just like straight up and down. That's good. Straight up and down. That's good. So then let's go ahead and grab 1, 2, and then hold it here at the edge. Hold it here at the edge. So see how it's not, yeah. Okay. Next we need to grab bone folder. And I really give this a good. So I make sure, yeah, so I make sure that this happens, okay? So see how now it's all sealed in. Make sure you smear that. So see here, I feel like I missed a little bit there. So then I'll go in, spackle some in there. So you'll know when you haven't added enough glue, you'll have just dry edges. And because this is not fabric covered, like you would know if you had fabric covering your spine, if it had holy bits, because, you know, fabric's covering it, but because this is an exposed spine, you will see like empty bits between your spine. Okay, so that looks good to me, so I like that. So I'll make sure that that's, and then I'll go back here and I'll just make sure. So this one looks, once again, looks a little bit dry to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Sure that that's nice and absorbed. Goes in. I like that, so that looks good. So let's go ahead, cover that. I do the same here. Not as much. Because we will give this a little bit of attention, but just while we're on the subject of filling in, let's go ahead and do it so we don't have to do it as much. This does get covered one more time. So go ahead and, so what I do is I extend, you'll see when I do it, I extend it from this line to a similar distance on the other side. So, but just for the sake of making sure that that spine is bound well, strengthened well, I'm going to do that and then flick it over on this side. Some of your gel medium in there. Inevitably, I do end up using my finger my trusty tool. So not good to use this stuff though. Not good to expose your skin to some of this chemical. So then quickly wipe off all the chemicals and sort of wipe off any excesses here. Okay, nice and neat. You're gonna have to leave this to dry for some time. Okay, and that's perfectly fine because it's time to choose your papers. So I'm gonna go give this a wash and I'll be back with some papers. So now while you're waiting for your spine to dry, it's now time to prepare the pages of the book and choose the pages that are going to fill your book. So remember we had all the pages labeled here, you numbered them, sorry. So we're going to pull everything off. So this is the first spine, this is the second. We're going to pull everything out. Okay, everything out. And then we're also going to cut everything. So we're going to separate the two pages. All right, so go ahead and let's do that. Okay, so now that our pages have all been cut, so just to be a bit organized, so let's go ahead, 12, 11, 6. So then what I do is I come along here and I go to 5 7/8. Okay, just shy of 6, and I score. So I don't have a scoreboard, and I always use my trimmer as the scoreboard. It's just, sometimes I want one, and sometimes I just don't want another tool. So the struggle is real. Okay, so just like this. So we are not going to cut that off. I mean, some people do, I don't know. Now, what Gail does, I'll show you in the little little puppy book, what Gail does, and I don't use that method because it's hard for me. So she doesn't separate the pages, she just keeps them like this, and then she'll score them, and then she adds like a pretty paper here. She'll add like this, like this, and she'll treat it like a tip-in, so the page binds through here, and she puts a little bit of glue. I sort of don't, that's not my way. So I had a look at her way, and I said, that's okay, but not for me. So then I thought, well, how do I want to do it? So what I ended up doing was I ended up taking all the pages apart, and then I fold them like this. Then I do what Gail does, which is add a pretty paper that matches this one, and then that goes into my book. So I have 12 pages, not 6 pages plus however many tip-ins that is. So 6 doubles, that's 12, and then 6 tip-ins, if you know what I mean. So it just kind of evens out the book for me, and I feel like you can do if you're doing 3 signatures, you can do 4 pages in each, or if you're doing 2 signatures, you can do 6 story books in each. I hope I'm making sense. If you know all about golden books, you sort of understand what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to do this off camera just to speed up the video, but you know what I'm doing. So now with each one of these, I'm going to be scoring it at 5 7/8 and then folding in like this.